Okay, Berurah Tamar Asra. We continue our share in Dishu Bahalacha. Before we begin the halacha, we continue in Pirkei Avos. We're holding in Parak Rishon. We're up to Mishnah Gimel. So the Tana says, Antignois ish Seichai kibel mishemen atzadik. Hu hayomer. Antignois was in the habit of saying, Al tihiyu ka'avadim hamishamishin es harav amanas lekabel pras. Somebody should not be similar to an eved, a servant, who serves his master in order to receive reward. Ella havu ka'avadim hamishamishin es harav shaloi amanas lekabel pras. Instead, he should be akin to a servant who serves his master without the intention to receive any kind of reward. V'hi mayir shamayim aleichem, and the fear of heaven should be upon you. Now, the truth is that a pras is different than schar. Schar is reward. So schar is usually something, schar is payment, schar is a salary. Schar, schirus. Somebody is an employee, he does his work to get paid by the employer. A pras is a present. A pras is something, is a gift, really. So this is even less than I'm doing it so that I should get paid. I'm doing it so that I should get a matnas chinam. I'm doing it so I should get a gift. In other words, the person understands that the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't really owe him anything. It's not as like an employee-employer relationship where somebody says, I'm doing it, I'm manas that you should pay me. I'm willing to put on tefillin, but only with understanding that you're going to pay me. I'm working for you, you're going to pay me. That's not what Antignois ish Seichai is saying. That you certainly shouldn't do. He's saying you should not even put on tefillin with the understanding, yeah, I'm going to put on tefillin, but of course I'm going to get something for it. Now the truth is, you will. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu mekapeh schar kol Berurah. The Rebbeinu Shalom is definitely going to give schar. He's nemon lekabel schar. But that's not supposed to be our thought process. Our thought process is not supposed to be that we're going to be Oved Hashem and we're going to get schar for it. Instead, we're supposed to be Oved Hashem because we're Oved Hashem. Now, the truth is that I got a beautiful understanding in this, a better understanding of it, this past, I'm going to say Rosh Hashanah. I'm not sure if it was Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, but I'm going to say Rosh Hashanah. When Berurah Zal Zayin Gesund spoke, I think it was when he spoke before Shofar. He said that he never truly understood the concept of tshuva me'ava until this past year. When he lost his wife, Nebuch, with the Petir of the Rebbetzin, he said now he understands the concept of tshuva me'ava. Because in order to understand tshuva me'ava, the first thing you have to understand is you have to understand what ava is. You have to understand what love is. So he said, he started analyzing, he says he misses his wife. Of course he misses his wife. He says, but why? So why do I miss her? If I miss her because she made me breakfast, if I miss her because she took care of the house, if I miss her because of 100 other things that she did for me, so that's not love for the person. That's love for yourself. I'm happy because she does things for me. So that's for me. That's selfish. That's not for the other person. So the ava is when you realize that I miss her because I miss her. Because I miss her presence. I miss her. I miss the conversation. I miss the camaraderie. I miss the what she does, not for me, but how she compliments me and makes me whole and brings out the best in me and allows me to become more of a person. That's not, he says, that I'm missing the person for her. I'm missing what I could do for her. I'm missing putting a smile on her face because I care about her. He says, Ava is not tshuva me'ava, is not that I'm going to do, if I'm doing tshuva because I want a kapara, that's not tshuva me'ava. That's tshuva because it's something that I need. Tshuva me'ava is pshat that I'm doing tshuva because I can't bear the thought that I ba'avled you. I can't stand the thought that I did something shaloi kirtzayin abayre. So I ba'avled bari. That's tshuva me'ava. So you have to have the hakara of what it means that there's a bari olam and the bari olam has a ratzon and that what you did is keneged ratzon bari olam And it's not just that I'm afraid he's going to get me. I'm afraid of an einish. I'm afraid I need a kapara. I'm worried about olam emes. I'm worried about the gzar din. I'm worried about my family. I'm worried. No, it's pshat that there's a bari olam and I ba'avot bari olam and I can't live with myself. Can't look in the mirror that I ba'avot bari olam. So now I'm doing tshuva for him, not doing tshuva for me. I think this is Seicha is saying over here a similar thing. I think this is Seicha is saying that the avdus that we have to have a hakara that the Rebbeinu Shalom is a bari olam. The Rebbeinu Shalom created me. The Rebbeinu Shalom created the world. The Rebbeinu Shalom created everything that I have. The Rebbeinu Shalom gave me all the kaiches that I have. The Rebbeinu Shalom, everything in my life is only from bari olam. And now my avdus to bari olam has to come out of that hakara. It's like Reb David told me once. He said, my father, he says, the Rishiva Zatzal was the happiest person I ever met. There's no question. So I once posed the question to Reb David. He said, what was it that put the smile on his face? So he told me that he once asked his father, why are you always so happy? And Rav Moshe told him, Borei Kol Olamim wants Moshe Feinstein shtickle aveda. He wants my aveda. And I shouldn't be happy? Borei Kol Olamim wants my aveda. I shouldn't be happy? Is there a bigger covet than that? A bigger honor than that? So our avodah has to come. It's not negeya, the pras. The reward, the prize is not negeya. My avodah is because I have a hakara of what it means that there's a bari olam. Well, what is there? Without avodas Hashem, what is there? There is nothing without avodas Hashem. That's why we have to be avodas Hashem, not because of the pras. Okay, now we go into halacha. We're beginning Siman Shin Lamed Ches Kuf Pei Gimel Amid Beis. Siman Shin Lamed Ches. Dvarim ha'asurim b'Shabbos b'shum hashmas koil, things that are asur on Shabbos because they produce sound. Ubay ches seifim. Now, before we start Shimon Lamed Ches, I just want to do a little house cleaning on Siman Shin Lamed Zayin. We ended off yesterday with two questions. One was, we know that we made a difference in Siman Shin Lamed Zayin between sweeping a floor and washing a floor. Sweeping a floor, we said that we do not make a gzera marutzif atu she'ena marutzif. We allow you to sweep a tiled floor on Shabbos in a locale like ours where all the floors are tiled. Nobody has earthen floors. So we allow you to sweep your tiled floor, and we do not make a gzera marutzif to aser a tiled floor atu she'ena marutzif, because you might come to sweep an untiled floor, which would be aser because of Ashras Gumais. We don't make that gzera. But by washing a floor, by hadacha, we do make a gzera. So hadacha, washing a floor, is aser, because washing an earthen floor would be aser. So washing a tiled floor is also aser, gzera marutzif, atu she'ena marutzif. Our question was, I told you yesterday, that I know that the psak halacha is, if you spill something on your kitchen floor and you have some sticky nonsense on your floor or something that's slippery and you want to take a bottle of Fantastic and you want to spray a little bit in the localized area and you want to take something, assuming there's no schita problems here, you're not soaking anything or you're using paper towel, so you're allowed to go wipe it up, right? So the question is, why? Why is that mutter? Is that hadacha? It's not kibud, it's hadacha. And if it's hadacha, why isn't there a gzera? I said, I know that the answer is that there isn't, but I didn't know what the geder is. So I spoke it over with I spoke it over with Rabbi Goldman this morning, and indeed he told me it's something that's very hard to make a geder on. It's very hard to draw the precise line, but this much is for sure. When you spill something on the floor on Shabbos and you go give a spritz and you go wipe it up, nobody is going to say you just washed the floor. That's not called washing the floor. That's called wiping up a mess. It's called cleaning up a mess. It's not called washing the floor. So as long as that's not called hadacha. I saw in some of the paiskim, in some of the contemporary paiskim, there's a Seif for Shalos Tshuvas Arla Tzion, which is a Svardish Rav, Ben Zion Abishol, maybe. It's one of the Svardish paiskim, where I think it was him. No, I'm sorry. No, this was, I think, Rosh Zalman, that wrote that the Isser of Hadacha is when you pour water on the floor, when you put a significant amount of water on the floor to wash it, that's called hadacha. Less than that is not called hadacha. So whatever it is, there is a geder, there's what's called hadacha, and there's what's not called hadacha, and this is not called hadacha. The other question that we ended off with, we were talking about the issue of moving chairs or benches outside and creating holes in the ground, and we spoke yesterday about rocking a barrel back and forth to settle it into the ground. And we said that that's usher because of ashvaz gumais. It's a psik ratio. The question was, you take a full heavy barrel on an earthen floor and you rock it in order to settle it into place. So that's a psik ratio of ashvaz gumais, and that's usher. So the question that came up was like this. What happens, I know I was up in the mountains this past summer. It was a very, very wet summer. The ground was constantly soft and mushy. If you take a chair, like one of these chairs, and you sit outside on Shabbos, when you get up, there's going to be an indentation in the ground from the legs of your chairs. It's a psik ratio. Is that a problem or is that not a problem? I never saw anybody be makbid on it. I never saw anybody say that it's a problem. So I went to find out, do they talk about it, and why isn't it a problem? I got two answers.
Because by chair,
Yeah.
it's low neighborhood. By the hariko, it is neighborhood.
Oh. Oh.
Wanted to settle
Okay, so there's two answers that I got. One was that first of all, there's a difference between digging a hole and compressing dirt. Kvish ha'aretz is not usher. When you just make when you just compress, that they generally say is not usher. Now the problem is chairs like this that have an angled back, generally you're not only depressing. You'll see afterwards that there's actually earth pushed up. But the other answer I got was like Yankel is saying, which is that it's a psik ratio d'lo nichale. Because even though it's a psik ratio, you're going to make a hole in the ground, it's worse than a psik ratio d'lo yichpaslei that you don't want. You're not, d'lo yichpaslei is you don't care. You don't care if it makes a hole or it doesn't make a hole. But over here it's d'lo nichale, you do not want it to make a hole. Because now your chair is not level and now it rocks back and forth. Or what happens on sukkahs is, people who have their sukkahs out in the dirt, by the time the third night of sukkahs comes around, you don't know where to put your chair because you can't put your chair anywhere without falling over. So it's a psik ratio d'lo nichale, and it's a derabanan, and it's a gzera, and it's a gzera merutzef atu she'eino merutzef, and we all have tile. So between all of these different things, and it's not a makom zriya, so between all of these things, he told me that it's not a problem. The other interesting thing that came up was, how about a woman walking in high heels on soft dirt? Her heels also go into the dirt. Nobody dreams that that's a problem. So there's a concept in the Paiskim. We are used to discussing two madregas. We talk about a davar she'eino miskaven, right? We're doing a malacha, but we have no intent for that malacha. So we say a davar she'eino miskaven is mutter, unless it's a psik ratio. If it's a psik ratio, if it's definitely going to happen, it's usher. He says there's another madrega that's even less than a davar she'eino miskaven. Yeah. Say, but there's another madrega. What? There's another madrega that's even less than a davar she'eino miskaven, which is that it's not a malacha at all. You're not doing a malacha at all. For example, there's an issur, you probably covered this earlier when you did Zayreya. Exposing a plant to the sunlight is a problem on Shabbos. Because by exposing a plant to the sunlight, you're promoting growth. Now let me ask you something. How are you allowed to walk on grass? Every time you walk on grass, you cover the grass with your foot. And now you lift up your foot and you expose the grass to the sunlight. So if you're standing outside of Shabbos on grass, you're not allowed to move. Obviously, that's not the halacha. Why? Because that's not called doing a malacha, davar she'eino miskaven. That's not called doing a malacha, that's called walking. Yeah. Right, so it seems that this could also fall into that kind of a thing, where this is not a malacha at all, it's b'chlal, not a malacha. Walking with high heels and walking on the grass, b'chlal, not a malacha. Even though it might be a psik ratio that you might make holes in the ground. Yeah, you can, yeah.
That's what they should do.
Yeah.
You have a plant in your house near a window and you want to open the window.
Complicated, yeah. It's so complicated. I'm not going to answer it offhand because I'm not holding it, but there's complexities. It's possibly us. So that we said yesterday, the Mefarshim and the Rambam say that we make a gzera by kibud. We don't make a gzera by kibud because kibud is mamash tzarech hayom. And hadach is not such a tzarech hayom. So by hadacha they made. Okay, so now let's go weiter. This is also very interesting. Siman Shel Lamed Ches. Dvar ma asurim b'Shabbos mishum hashmas koil ubay ches seifim. Zot the mechaber. Hashmas koil b'klei shir aser. To produce sound with an instrument, with klei shir, a utensil that's made to produce music, aser is aser. Now, I'm going to stop right here and go down into the Mishnah Berurah because the Mishnah Berurah is going to make a very critical point. Says the Mishnah Berurah, nice cut and aleph, b'klei shir. Lav dafka b'klei shir. This is not only using an instrument that hashmas koil is aser. Ala'af biyad, even with your hand. Kegoin lahakois kaf al kaf, to clap. Heicha shehu derech simcha v'shir. If you're doing it out of simcha and making music and clapping with the music, that is aser. It's derech simcha v'shir. Aser k'masha kasav b'siman shin lamed tes, like it is expressly stated in Siman shin lamed tes, if gimel, mitam shema yasakin klei shir. The reason for this is there is a gzera that once you're getting involved in simcha v'shir and you're producing sound out of simcha v'shir, you might come to either repair or tune or do something else with a musical instrument, which would be a problem of tikkun moneh. It would be a problem of makabah patish. Now, just a little bit of background that we're going to need to understand this. There's a Gemara in Eruvin. The Gemara in Eruvin says that Ula was in a house on Shabbos. Somebody came to the house and knocked on the door. When Ula heard him knock on the door, Ula said, Yischalel gufa yishal zeh shemechal Shabbos. His guf should be mechol because he's being mechal Shabbos. Rava heard this, and Rava reacted, and Rava said, where are you coming from? Knocking on the door is an isser. The only isser is simcha v'shir. If it's derech simcha v'shir, if you're trying to produce music, if you're being misameach, then there's gzeir shemi yisaki kli shir. But just producing noise by knocking on the door is not gzeir shemi yisaki kli shir. That's not zikr, not aser. Comes out, it would seem, the Machaber, for sure, most Rishonim, paskin like Rava. So, simply coming from the machlokes of Ula and Rava, so we'll get there. Pashtus, that's also not called derech simcha v'shir, but we'll get there. Could be. Doing this on Shabbos, if you're singing Zmiris and you're doing this to the music, that's a problem.
But that's not a beat. The other one that
Yeah, if you're going to the beat, that's a problem. If you're doing Yankee Doodle Dandy, if people sit and they do this, they're doing that, that's a problem. But it would come. So again, Rava and Ula, what we would come out with is simcha v'shir, producing sound, not with your mouth, producing sound with your hands, with anything. Derech simcha v'shir would be aser. If it's not derech simcha v'shir, it would be mutter. But we're going to see that it gets a little bit more complicated than that. So what do we have from this first Mishnah Berurah? From this first Mishnah Berurah we have, it doesn't have to be with a musical instrument, even if you're doing something with your hands. If it's derech simcha v'shir, it's aser. Now, in the brackets, the Chavetz Chaim says, Uma da'asru b'siv dalet, lahakois kaf al kaf, kishem mishamer aperois, kedei la'avriach ha'oifos. We're going to say in Siv dalet that somebody wants to scare the crows away from the produce. So he starts clapping to get the animals away. That's not derech simcha v'shir. And yet we're going to say in Sif Dal that it's aser. Af shehu einoi derech shir. Says the Chavetz Chaim, ha-samatam, over there's a different reason. Over there the problem is, Shema yital tzrar v'yizrak l'rishos harabim kishe yirtza la'avricham, uchid mafar sham. Over there the problem is, you're being Isaac and chasing away birds. We're afraid you're going to pick up a rock, and you're going to throw a rock at the birds. And you're going to throw a rock, derech rishos harabim. So that's not exer of hashmas koil. So again, what's aser? What's aser is derech simcha v'shir, even with your hands. Now, v'hem yirtza lahakois kaf al gaf, kedei l'sameach hatinoy kol hashtikoi. Let's say you have a little baby, and you want to clap a little bit for the baby to calm the baby down. So what are you doing? You are doing derech shir. You're trying to produce pleasant sound. Even if it's not musical, even if you're not playing a beat or playing a melody, but you are using your hands to produce a pleasant sound. You're not trying to produce a harsh sound that would disturb the baby. So over there, Yira Lasai Zek Kalacha Yad, Tishari, the Chavetz Chaim says you should do a Kalacha Yad, bang on the back of your hand, Ukamayshim Avursham, because otherwise that would technically be a problem. Another example. He got this from the Gemara. If somebody would take, let's say, a cup that has holes in the bottom. So you fill up this cup with water, and now you hold the cup over a piece of sheet metal. What's going to happen? The water drips out, and as the water drips on the sheet metal, it produces noise. So if you're doing this, so that it should drip into a metal keli, and you're doing this to produce a pleasant sound through the drips, aser, that would be aser. Because now you're doing it derech simcha v'shir. You're producing a pleasant sound. If you're doing it for an ill person because you're trying to create white noise to lull him to sleep, that would be mutter because it's for a chayla. But otherwise it would be aser. However, if you're putting in water that's going to drop heavily onto metal, in order to produce a harsh sound that's going to wake up somebody, shari, that's mutter. Because now you're not doing derech simcha v'shir. You're not doing something pleasant. If it was pleasant, you'd be putting him to sleep, not waking him up. You're doing it with strong, you're doing a harsh sound. So what we have so far, again, is you're producing sound, whether with your hands or whether mechanically with some kind of instrument. It doesn't have to be a musical instrument. This is not a musical instrument, the cup with the dripping water. But you're producing pleasant sound, that's derech simcha v'shir, that's aser. You're doing harsh sound, that's mutter. Now, says the Mechaber weiter, Avo, lahakish al hadeles, but to knock on the door, so that somebody should answer the door, the kiyotza b'zeh, or similar sound, kishe'enoi derech shir, mutter. That's not derech shir. You're just trying to get somebody's attention. Over there, that's no problem. Says the Chavetz Chaim in the bottom line, nice cut and base. Aval hakish ritzaynoi loymar. The Mechaber means to say, Av shekavanosai lahashmiya koil kedei sheyiftachu loi. You definitely have intent to produce noise because you want somebody to come open the door. Mutter, that's okay. Va'afilu im makish pekeli. It's even okay if you would take a spoon and go knock on the door with a spoon. Why not? Why is it mutter? Kevin she'eino derech shir. Because it's not derech shir. So even if you're using a keli, it's okay. Now it gets tricky. Now let's take a look at the Ramah on the top of Kuf Pei Daled Amud Aleph. Hagah. First we get into a little side point. Hagah. V'chein im loy ovid ma'aser shari. Also, producing sound is always mutter if you're not actually doing a ma'aser. What does that mean? You're not doing a ma'aser. Says the Ramah. V'lachein, therefore, elu shekayri lechavreim. Somebody who wants to get the attention of his friend, umitzaftzefim b'fiyam k'may tzipar, and he whistles with his mouth like a bird. Mutter la'asoisai b'Shabbos. You're allowed to do that on Shabbos. You're allowed to go ahead and whistle on Shabbos. Zok the Mishnah Berurah, he's cutting gimel. Elu shekarin lechavreim, hainu afilu imanam hakoil kein shir. Even if you whistle a tune, not a problem. Shari, it's mutter. Delay gazrinan bazeh heichid avid bepeh. Because there's no gzera when you do it with your mouth. Now, there's a very interesting Aruch HaShulchan here. The Aruch HaShulchan says, what is the chiddush of the Ramah? That you're allowed to whistle. You're allowed to sing. There's nobody who asks singing, Shemi Yisaki Klei Shir. So clearly producing sound with your mouth is mutter. So the Aruch HaShulchan says it cannot be that the chiddush of the Ramah here is simple whistling. That is zicha mutter. He says, what's the chiddush? The chiddush is, I don't know how to do it, otherwise I demonstrate. But the people who stick their fingers in their mouth and they whistle using their fingers, says the Aruch HaShulchan, that's mutter. That's what this Ramah is being matir. Even though we aser clapping, so producing sound with your hands, we normally aser. But over here, even though you're using your hands, since the ikar sound is produced by your mouth, is produced with your tongue and your lips, and the fingers only serve to somehow focus and intensify the sound, that's not usher because that's not called doing a maisa with your hands. Okay. Continues the Ramah.
I thought someplace, I don't know where, I know the sentence, that you shouldn't be doing it because there's some malachim, that's how they call each other or something.
I never.
License like that.
That's what I call boogeyman stuff, but I never heard that. I don't know.
Your mother knows.
He says.
What?
The East European Jews know.
Yeah?
Litvish maybe, I don't know what they do.
Eastern.
Mother for
Yeah,
sure.
my mother.
Really? Not to whistle.
There's some kind of a malady.
I'm not knocking it. I never heard it. I never heard it.
He says, the Moshe thinks there's some pizzas.
Yeah? They bring it down?
Should be, yeah, brings them down, right?
Interesting. Okay. I never did it. I don't know him. Okay. Zok the Ramah weiter, and here's where we get a little tricky. Second line. V'asar lahakois b'Shabbos aladeles. You're not allowed to knock on the door b'tabas hakavua badeles, with a door knocker. Afal pi she'ena mechaven l'shir, even though your intent is not to produce music. Your intent is the same exact intent as the intent when you knock on the door. When you knock on the door, you just want to get somebody's attention. And we said you're allowed to knock on the door with your hand, and you're even allowed to knock on the door with a keli. So if you happen to have a spoon, you could go knock on the door with a spoon. That's not a problem. But to knock on the door using the door knocker, that, says the Ramah, is aser. Mikol mokaim, on the bottom line, hayil v'akli miyuchad lekach, since the door knocker is made for this, aser, it's aser. Okay, let's take a look at the Chavetz Chaim. Let's see what the Mishnah Berurah says. Yeah, the Mishnah Berurah says in Ois Cotton Daled Miyuchad Lekach Ritzaynei Loymar Shemiyuchad LaHashmiya Koil. What does it mean that it's Miyuchad Lekach? The door knocker is a keli, which is Miyuchad. It is specifically for producing sound. A spoon is not miyuchid for producing sound. A spoon is made for eating. You could take it, you could bang it, you could make noise. But the door knocker is a keli that's miyuchid for hashmaz koil. It's not miyuchid for music, but it's miyuchid for hashmaz koil. Chashinon shema yechavin l'shir. Now we are choshid that you might have intent to make music. Now the way I understand this is as follows. A door knocker is a keli that is intended to make sound. Somebody goes to the door and he wants to be cute. I mean, I know people who knock on my door and they, most people come to the door. I know some people, every time they come to the door, that's what they always do. So maybe they're musical. So a door knocker is a kli that's miyuchid la'ashmaz koil. And maybe the guy will come and he will use it to bang out a tune. It seems that when we have a keli that's miyuch, the truth is, the mechaber in the Beis Yosef is very troubled by this. The Beis Yosef struggles. This comes from an ogur. The ogur says that it's also to use the door knocker because it's miyuchad lashmaz koil. The Beis Yosef looks at the ogur and he says, where did we get this from? It's not from Rava. Rava said that the only issur is when you're doing something derech simcha v'shir. Says the Beis Yosef, the door knocker is not derech simcha v'shir. It should be mutter. Who cares that you're doing it with a keli? What's in the gay that you're doing with a keli? So the Beis Yosef says, the only thing I could see is that since it's a keli that's miyuchid for hashmaz koil, and it's possible that somebody will use it to bang out a tune, so now already it passes the gzera of shemi yisakin klishir. Because you're using an instrument which is bedafka, a noise-producing instrument, and you can use it to bang out a tune. So once you're involved in using an instrument to make a tune, you might come shemi yisakin klishir. It reminds me of a certain Rav that I know who showed me with his shofar. He plays Yankee Doodle Dandy on the shofar. I'm about to kaya. I can play Yankee Doodle Dandy on a shofar, but he can. So there are musical people who will use any noise-producing instrument. They will use it to make a tune. Yeah. That's not called. That's called a beat, not a tune. Why? If I do this.
The rate that the noise comes up, it's not a
That's not called a tune. That's called a beat. Okay, a beat. So, but it's a musical composition of some type.
It gets the whole point of this Shmos Tov business is you forget yourself. And
Yeah, you're involved in producing.
beats do that.
It distracts you.
People
They lose themselves in
the
it.
people that die. It's not unbelievable, but I know situations. Beats can be deadly actually because it affects the heart.
Oh, the heart.
It affects the
Yeah,
heart.
yeah, yeah.
Hearing
I can't go in the chasana hall. I can't go in front of the speakers. If I go in front of the speakers, it could throw me into AFib. If I go in front of the speakers, it happened to me on more than one occasion, and I have to be very careful at the chasana hall. The music like this doesn't bother me, but if I go directly in front of the speaker, it happened to me more than once. So yeah, beats are.
Be happy that the beat can make somebody later and they'll forget while they're into the
Okay, let's go weiter over here. So the Mishnah Berurah says, we're on the 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth line down in the Mishnah Berurah. V'chol shkein lahashmiya koil bekli shekorin kamerton. This is a tuning fork. And this was a huge problem in days of yesteryear by the Chazanim. It was a huge problem. It's a beautiful Aruch HaShulchan. The Aruch HaShulchan, the famous Aruch HaShulchan. We are on Kuf Pei Dalet Amud Aleph with four lines down in the Mishnah Berurah, in Eis Cotton Dalet. The Aruch HaShulchan goes out of his way to try and be not a Meretz Yosher, to be Melamed Zchus, to be Melamed Zchus on the Chazanim that use a tuning fork, and he's tripping over himself because he's writing. It's horrible, and they just say no, Rabbim, and it's usher, but we have to be Melamed Zchus because there are so many of them that are doing it, and Klal Yisrael, and what are we going to do? And he's coming up with svara after svara after svara to come and be Melamed Zchus. But the Chafetz Chaim says the choshkein lashmiya koil b'kli shekari kamerton to bang a tuning fork and make a sound pshit to daser the kli shirhu, because what is it? It's a keli that's b'yuchid for making sound. V'gamu mechaven l'shir, and he wants to strike a musical tone. Ubebarzol sha'pesach ninol v'niftach bay. But if you have a door that has a bolt and you could pull the bolt out, near the motalakish pailadelis kadesh yishwan shabayis of tayachloi. You want to take the bolt and you want to bang on the door with the bolt? That's okay. That's not a keli that's miyuchad lashmas koil. Not at all. It's like a spoon. Now, the mechaber in ois cotton hay. This is the Mishnah Berurah. Aser. He said it's aser to use a keli that's miyuchad lashmas koil. Ayin be'eliyah rabba prima godim. The mizeh nishma. You have a bell, and the bell has a clapper, and there's a string attached to the clapper. To take the string and bang around the clapper is aser. What if you want to open a door and you know that the door has a bell hanging on it? Are you allowed to do that? And now here we're going to come to a very, very interesting piece. We have to go a little bit weiter in the Ramah. The Ramah on the bottom line, right next to the Vav for the Mishnah Berurah, middle of the line. V'lachein, therefore, aser l'shamish l'hakois aladeles. A shamish is not allowed. The shamish who goes around the town to knock on the doors to wake people up. He's not allowed to bang on the deles, to bang on the door. Likroi lebeis hakneses, to call people to shul. Al yidei akli am yuchad lekach. Using the door knocker. You're not allowed to use the door knocker. Instead, he has to use his hand to bang on the door, and we bring this down from the Uger, which is brought down in the Beis Yosef. Now, let's look at this Mishnah Berurah. Ois Cotton Vav. What an interesting Mishnah Berurah. V'lachein asa l'shamish, says the Chafetz Chaim. Kosav atazkan u'biyaredei Siman Reish Pei Beis. The mizeh muchach. The aser litlois b'Shabbos oisan ha'paroichos sheyesh ben pa'amoinim la'ashmiya koil kishapoischina aron. You're not allowed to put up a paroichos that has bells on it. They would have bells on the paroichos so that when you open the paroichos, it'll ring the bells and people know that the aron was opened and they're going to stand up. So the Taz says you're not allowed to use such a paroichos on Shabbos. V'chein litlois ha'pa'amoinim ala atzei chayim shall say v'teira. or to put bells on the Atzei Chaim of the Sefer Torah. We put on the silver keser on the Sifrei Torah, and a lot of them have bells. The Taz says you're not allowed to use the ones with bells. Very good. Or how about a beged that has bells on it, like the Me'il of the Kohen Gadol that had bells on the bottom? Because what's the purpose of these bells? The purpose of the bells is to make noise. So says the Taz, here you have a keli hamayuchad lashmas koil. You have a bell, it's miyuchad v'ashmas koil. You're not allowed to do it on Shabbos. V'ashach sham chaylik alav, the shach is chaylik on the Taz, mitam the hakaim alon the l'tzarech mitzvah shari. The shach says, hold it, this is a tzarech mitzvah. K'moshe koseh Siman shid lamites, the mutal l'rakid b'suchas Torah, l'chvayra Torah. You're allowed to dance on Sukkos Torah, even though dancing is the same problem of Shemi Yisaki Klishir, but you're allowed to dance in Sukkos Torah l'chvayra Torah because it's a tzarech mitzvah. V'achinami tzarech mitzvah, k'dei sheyishbu ha'am yukumu. The bells on the paraychis or on the Atzei Chaim are for tzarech mitzvah, so people should know that the Sefer Torah is coming, they should get up. It's not like knocking on the door to wake people up for davening, which you might think is also a mitzvah. He says, no, that's different. The Hasam should be in Yanacher, because over there the Shamish can knock on the door with his hand. He doesn't need the door klopper. Visu also, and here's very interesting, Visu, furthermore, think about this for a minute. The person who opens up the paroiches that has a bell on it, Ein mechavein lashmiya hakoil klal. He's not thinking, I'm going to open the paraychas to make noise. Kiyim li Torah Sefer Torah. He's opening the paraychas so he can take out the Sefer Torah. The guy who's carrying the Sefer Torah that has bells on the keser, is he going with the Sefer Torah to shake the Sefer Torah to make noise? He's going to bring the Sefer Torah to the bima. He has no concept at all of making noise. Now, we're not talking here. The intent of the Chavetz Chaim here, I believe, he's quoting the Shach, it's not his own. The intent over here, we're not talking the language of Dover She'enim Eskaven and Psik Reisha. That's not what he's addressing. What he's addressing over here is, how could you make a Gzera, Shemi Yisakin Klei Shir, on somebody who's doing a Maisa, who doesn't have any intent whatsoever to make noise? How could you have a Gzera of Shemi Yisaki Klishir? Doesn't pass. The whole Gzera doesn't make sense. Therefore, says the Shach, you can't tell me it's usher to carry a Sefer Torah that has a keser on it, that has bells on it, because Shemi Yisaki Klishir, there's zero kavanah to make noise. Similarly, to open a door that has a bell attached to it. I'm opening a door and going into the house. The owner of the house maybe put on a bell because he wants to know when people are coming in and out. That has nothing to do with me. I have zero intent to go ahead and make noise. So it doesn't pass a Gzera of Shemi Yisaki Kleshir. However, Mr. Berurah says, Vayin b'shar Ephraim shar Yotzev Gimel, shetaito sham de lechatchila and lasis kein b'Shabbos. The Shar Ephraim says you should be makbid on this. Uv'mekayim shenagu heter bazeh, and the Chavetz Chaim says in places where we noig heter, kedasa magen Avram, ein limchais b'yadam ad kad l'shoynai. That's a quote from the Shar Ephraim. Similarly, to open a door when you know it has a bell, as far as hataz v'amagen Avram anal, has to do with the same achloikis. The lahataz also, ulamagen Avram kan v'chein b'simin shenal sif katan lamed hey ayin sham shari. Because when the person opens the door on Shabbos, ein mechaven la'ashmiya koil, there's no intent for Hashmas koil. Umediver agra sham b'simin shenal of Seif sif chav gimel muchach to serve gam ken kataz. Chavetz Chaim says it's muchach from the gra that he held like the taz to answer this. The kevan the ha'invel meyuchad lahashmiya koil, because since the bell is a keli that's meyuchad for Hashmas koil, ein nafkamina mamashu ein mechaven lozeh. The Gra felt that it doesn't matter what the person's kavan is. The bottom line is you're using a keli that's miyuchet for Hashmas koil to make noise. The gam be'eli araba mitzad de'en lahakam mitam zelachud elagabe paroiches tu milsa de mitzvah. Now the paroiches, okay, it's a mitzvah. V'alkein bevade me'anachon sheyasem me'erev Shabbos ha'invel me'agabe ha'pesach. Therefore says the Chavetz Chaim, certainly if you have a bell on the door, you should remove it before Shabbos, oishiv kikenu b'tzemer, or stuff it up, oibamuchin, with rag, shalish b'akailai, ach b'makam atchak, kigon sheshakach, v'lo yasira me'erev Shabbos, if you forgot, v'chal ki agavna, near the yachal lismach al asvar hanal, lahakal kevichein mechavan lashmiya koil. L'maisa, I can tell you that the Aruch HaShulchan makel. He's so makel on this that he can't fathom. He cannot fathom that the isser of using a keli that's v'yuchid la'ashmas koil has anything to do with the gzeir of Shem Yisag Klei Shir. He says it must be over the koil.
Have you ever seen in your lifetime anybody ever do Shir? How many people know how to do it?
Right, and still, you know.
He says here,
But they do say over from Rav Stein, somebody told me there's a famous picture of Rav Steinman that they gave Rav Steinman a Sefer Torah as a gift, and they gave it to him with the keser, and they have a picture of him inspecting the bells to make sure that they didn't have clappers. And you'll see that most of the ksarim that we have that have silver bells don't have clappers, because they say that by taking out the clapper, it's not called a keli hamayuchid lashmas koil.
not to make a noise.
Right. Maybe they'll knock against each other, but that's not a keli hamayuchid lashmas koil. But lamaisa, it seems that the paiskim are